Welcome to the CRIISP podcast for Thursday, the 19th of March, 2020. We speak with Steve Baxter and understand why investors are still investing amidst the crisis.
Hi, and welcome to this special podcast. Today, it's myself, Steve Torso, and I've got Steve Baxter joining me as well from Transition Level Investments and formerly known from his role with Shark Tank. We thought we'd chat today. The actual date today, because things are changing so fast, I think it's worthwhile to mention, is the 18th of March. I reached out to Steve and I thought it'd be worthwhile for me and him to have a chat and sort of have a bit of a conversation around, firstly, what I'm experiencing as a founder and also what he's experiencing as an investor, because I'm speaking to a lot of founders at the moment and they've got a lot of different fears around the current market environment, and rightly so. And I know how proactive Steve is. He was literally in the AFR 2 days ago talking about a transaction he's just done. So I thought it'd be really worthwhile to have this conversation. So thanks for coming on today, Steve.
No worries, Steve. Thanks for having me.
So, mate, you just come back from the US.
Yeah. Dodged the travel bans, dodged the bug the whole way. It was a bit of a sporty trip, a lot of fun. It was a good trip. But it was amazing to see the world slowly crumbling apart and racing all that home. It was incredible.
We were just talking how, like I said a week ago, like literally Monday, Tuesday last week, I was planning to be in London at this point, and now that just seems like a lifetime away.
Well, we're supposed to. Part of the reason I went to the US was to do a reconnaissance for our investor mission in May, which has been called off, and we're going through the process with the insurance company to get our. We pay for the hotel rooms, like half the hotel rooms anyway, to get that money back. Which is, they're working through the gears, and they said, "Oh, we'll need some sort of official notice that you can't come." And just literally that hour, then Scott Morrison's just now been on the TV basically saying there's a level 4 travel restriction. I had no idea there was levels of travel restriction. I figure either restricted travel or you didn't, right? And basically he's saying you just know Australians going overseas. It's just not happening sport. So, there you go. We'll get our cash back from the hotel. That's good.
For me, like we held Emergence, which is our largest event of the year, and we had, like they've got restrictions on 500 plus. We had nearly 2,000 across the 3 days, and like we literally got. I actually feel if we had done that the following week, I would have had a whole bunch of problems on my hands, just given what was happening. But just crazy that we actually got it away, and I've never seen any. Like we were fortunate enough that we launched during the GFC, so I remember.
Oh yeah, right.
I remember going through a crazy period. I know you've got an interesting story about that period as well.
I actively tried to scrub it from my memory, to be honest, Steve. But no, look, it was one of those interesting times. So my story, story during the GFC was with Pipe Networks, a company that we founded back in 2001, and with another chap, Bevan Slattery, and we listed that on the ASX in 2005. I actually left as a full-time executive in 2008, stayed on the board, and went and worked with Google in California. And literally, I got to Mountain View, California 3 weeks after Lehman Brothers went tits up, basically. And that, the whole thing kicked off. We went from 40-cent share price and rapidly, until about probably 8 months before that, we got to $4.80, I want to say. And soon after the GFC, we were $1.80. And we had to complete a rather large infrastructure project. We'd started building a submarine cable between Sydney and Guam. And we sort of couldn't find that last sort of 120 million or around about dollars. I can't remember if that's Australian or US now. It's all a bit furry in my brain, to be honest. But it's pretty easy to raise. Well, it's easier to raise $100 million when you've got a $4 or $5 share price as opposed to a $2 share price.
Yeah.
So we had all sorts of trouble, and the debt market stopped. Literally, they just fired buildings full of bankers, and the banking syndicate we were putting together, the lending syndicate we were putting together, they all just got fired, not because of us, just because no one was lending and there was no reason to keep these people around. So they just shot them all.
So when you see what's going on now, like I'll go through my perspective as a founder, like what is the first thing sort of, especially over this last week, like I imagine you've had investee companies calling you. I imagine you've had other investors calling you. What are your conversations typically like?
Look, we've got some that are faring well through it. They're actually getting an uptick out of it because, people are working from home and there's certain software being used. And I don't want to name those because it seems like there's no glee in that. Nobody wants this to happen.
Yeah.
But vast majority of our companies are in trouble or about to be in trouble. And there's maybe 20%, maybe 5 or 6, I suppose, whatever, about 15, 20% that are are probably going to be okay and be the better for it. So, the conversations are revolving around cash burn, about what we can do. So we've got 35 direct investments. We've got about another 20 we manage, and I say that another it's not quite the same because we actually have some common between our direct and the ones we manage.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of overspill in the data set there. So about 50 companies that we care for, so we're putting in place some protocols. We're actually going back through our investor syndicate. So we launched our investment syndicate last year, 10-13. We've got 68 or 69 onboarded investors who have a myriad of experience, and they're from, they've had not just GFC experience and .com experience. I had .com experience too, to be quite honest. Yeah. And then back in the troubles before that. So there's a bunch of really good people on there who want to help these CEOs become wartime CEOs essentially, because they've got to manage it through this crisis. So we're getting webinars up with respect to, we've got some turnaround people who've we've met in the past to take people through what they can do to look at cut costs, how they can negotiate, leases and terms. The ugly side when it comes to redundancies and other ways, we can talk about managing costs, but this is essentially people's lives, and we have to, to be very, very sanguine. But the reality is, that it's going to involve redundancies. It's going to involve layoffs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, right down to, that Australia's just recently got some really a lot better corporate restructuring provisions in what we call the safe harbour provisions. So what does insolvency mean? What does safe harbour mean? That can really allow you to restructure things, skip off the bottom, and actually save the company. So there's a bunch of tools out there, of which we hope all of our companies need very few, or none. But let's face it, something bad's going to happen. So we're pulling together what we believe the value we bring other than money to our portfolio, and that's advice and that's a network, and we're basically deploying that. That's our goal.
And has that already taken place, or you've sort of got that scheduled for them over the next couple of weeks?
That has taken place. So we've got our.
That's efficient, mate. That is really
efficient. We're also in the process of about 4 weeks ago, we decided to take our part-time marketing comms role to a full-time marketing comms role. So as a result, the fantastic lady we had in that role, she couldn't do that. She's got a young family, and so we ended up basically then letting her go, mutually deciding to let her go. And then bring in a full-time person. So we've had this 1 week gap, and so Doug starts tomorrow with that. So he's going to land tomorrow and going to say, "Hey, Doug, surprise! You got all these webinars to organise, mate." But Doug will eat that up. Doug is a great young chap. He'll eat that up in a heartbeat. But no, we've got the people to agree to do that. We've got one side. We've also forever we've been running a WhatsApp channel, and I think there's a Slack channel there too for our founders and the CEOs to get together and to network, and understand what's going on. So that's reasonably active. You'll see a few messages in there a day on a quiet day. So, so we're going to try and bring that together as much as we can, and just, take our network, this thing that we've been saying to our founders that we've got behind us, and saying, right. And with that, we're also fully surveying the network of our investors and saying, right, okay, so what experience do you have? In this hard time, what can you bring? What specific can you bring? And we can put you on a call. And, if, okay, you're in the education sector, for example, great, you can talk to this guy.
Are you surprised how proactive they are, or were you expecting that because that's sort of your personality?
No, we're going out and asking for that, essentially. Yeah. So, this is not just us. We've seen that across. We're on all the main lists for all the VC funds and stuff in Australia. They're easy to get on. So we're seeing a lot of very similar stuff. I wouldn't say we're doing anything out of the ordinary. We're all invested in these companies, probably, financially, in some respects, we're in for that ride as well, right? We're emotionally, we care about the people we invest in. And so we've reached out and said, how can we help? And I said, well, how do I do this? How do I do that? So, okay, I don't quite know, but I know someone who does know. Let me get you in contact with them. So that's, I suppose, the tact that we're taking.
From my perspective on the founder side, like for us, as you know, we do events, right? So we've literally, in 2 days last week, we transformed the entire business to go virtual. And the sort of, you basically get the team together, explain what you're doing. And then that first part, there's this surreal moment on Monday where I was chatting with my team, and I was sort of hosting we have typically a Monday morning meeting. And I was just sort of, obviously we've got to explain our perspective of what's actually happening, and then also what's our role in the ecosystem. And then I remember making the comment that, look, I wouldn't be, said, for all I know right now, we could be working from home tomorrow. And literally by 3 p.m, I was letting everyone know that we we're going to be working from home the next day. And it just seemed like the logical thing. So I imagine that's your setup at the moment, or for a lot of your investee companies, that they've got, sort of a remote setup going.
Yeah, look, I think most would, if not all. We've got some of our companies we have some some very retail aspects to their business as well, which makes that a little bit harder because someone has to do that sort of stuff. So, but we made the decision over the weekend after seeing that there's a fantastic article. The whole flatten the curve article went around. I think it got viewed sort of 70 million times in about 20 hours. The Medium page, and that for me with the statistics coming, that was like, geez, we can't. I mean, we started looking at some half measures and discussing that over the weekend with my operating partner, saying, well, okay, let's just get people off of public transport. Let's just pay for their parking. Let's just get them off public transport, pay for the parking, have them come in. We thought, what are we doing? Why risk any of this?
Yeah.
Now, I got to temper this by the fact that my staff hate this about me. There's probably lots of things they hate about me, but they hate this the most. Is I'm an old-fashioned boss, and I hate work from home. I fundamentally don't think it's the best way to get productivity. There's an enormous amounts of distractions at home to start with. And when I worked with Google in California back in 08, 09, I saw it abused. I saw it, you'd have these days where people had this no meetings Friday. So you couldn't have a meeting on a Friday so people could work from home. And you'd ring the lazy buggers and they're all down the park with their kids, they're getting their car fixed or at the movies. You're like, really? So I had a very, very bad experience of work from home. And so I've been highly resistant to it, you might say. But however, here we are. We're working from home.
Is there any specific software that your team that the teams are using for either tracking activity or for sort of just seeing? Like, obviously, we use Slack a lot. Slack and WhatsApp probably our main channels. Is there any other sort of stuff that that you're seeing some of your investee companies using?
Oh, look, I think, and when I say I have to work from home, I think there's certain job positions and roles out there that are easy to work from home. There's a lot of software. If you're a software developer, there's a lot of productivity software. So you can understand the productivity level of those people. We're more in the business of, you can't really understand the productivity of DD, if you know what I mean. So it's a lot harder to do that. To some degree, we track the amount of inbound leads and DD and actual companies we do, but it doesn't reflect the effort into each of those instances. So we don't have any specific. That being said, we're actually also in the process of implementing like a full-on Salesforce solution to probably do about half of that. But once again, we have a very poorly defined hole, in the analog of the square peg round hole thing. Literally, what we do is so mushy and hard to sort of pin down. We're going to give it a go. So, for the most part, we use Zoom for video conferencing. We still do the morning stand up. So we'll do it except instead of a 15-minute stand up around the table, because we're all face to face, we do a half-hour one, but it's just a little harder to coordinate. And then we're using Asana to track various tasks.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, we've been using Trello for the task tracking. And I was going to say, and this might be a surprise question for some people, but one thing, like for us, we've had, I think just today alone, we've had like 14 inquiries come through off the website of companies raising money. And there is, like, for me, I've been explaining to people, the next 3 to 6 months, my belief is we're going to see some of the largest amount of companies that are raising money. Everyone that's been raising money over the last sort of few months, or they've been holding off, all of a sudden they put it on as a massive priority. Are you guys still looking at deals, or are you just focused on investing into your current investee companies and just sorting out their issues?
Well, we are looking at deals still. I mean, you have to. So at the start of last week, we surveyed our 1013 investors in our syndicate. We had a very positive reaction, response backs, and 58% of the responses were that they would continue to invest just as much, if not more, as they did before. So that was really quite heartening, if you know what I mean. And so well over 75% were still positive to investing. It was a 1 to 5 score, if you know what I mean. So we had 4 was neutral. 3 was neutral.
Interesting.
So
that's basically been my experience as well. Every chat, and obviously it's because of the space that I'm in. A lot of the investors I've been dealing with typically mostly invest into private companies. So they've got one focus of, obviously there's going to be an opportunity to invest into companies at, let's say, different valuation levels to what they may have been at a month to 2 months ago. And on the other part, they've got the other part of making sure their investee companies are capitalized.
Yeah, so look, we'd come up. So we started our investment syndicate 1013 late last year. We had done 3 deals in December last year. We completed 1 prior to March this year. In the retail space, that's going to be interesting. No, actually they're good. They'll power through. The fact they've just raised money, which means they'll see it through. So they're very well positioned. So we're encouraging them, I suppose, that those that are contemplating term sheets in front of them now, just to get the damn thing signed, snatch the money out of the hands. This is going to be a tough one. You're going to have to suck it up a little bit here if you're going to keep this alive, or you use all the tools in your toolbox. Go out there and get some revenue. Can't get some revenue, look at what you can sell, look at what you can save, etc., etc. Then get some equity. So they've got to get back to good old honest business, and in the last resort should be equity.
I think some of our conversations, like what's the chair of their team, was that there's going to be three things you'll typically see companies do. One, they've either got to raise money. Two, they've got to either stop development, especially if they're technology development companies. And the hardest part is if a company is going to stop development, then it takes months and months to get back any sort of momentum. If they stop development, they could lose team members and all that sort of stuff. It's difficult. And then the other one is obviously the letting go of staff, which the letting go of staff also is most likely to happen, but along goes with some IP, which also is an impact on momentum as well, but it's just hard to avoid.
Yeah, very hard to avoid. There's nothing good's going to come out of this. I mean, maybe someone might look back in 20 years and think that in the longer term there may have been some good come out of it, but I think everyone involved in it right now is going to feel nothing but pain. And that being said,
one of my friends got a health foods company, and he is absolutely killing it at the moment.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Not a toilet paper company, is it?
No. He said he had 2 days of sales in the space of 5 hours.
Oh wow, there you go.
Yeah, just stuck up on those probiotics.
Yeah, that's it. They're dead right. Yeah, so look, we think there will be. So we actually have some. So where I was going as well, when I went to the US, came back, had a few days back, went over to Perth and did some prospecting over there and met some folks. And we've actually got a reasonably healthy deal flow pipeline, to be honest. And we only do about an investment a month, between 8 to sort of 12 to 14 a year type thing. Yeah. So, size of the team, the way we do it, how much capital we get to invest is all determining there. So we need to understand where that's going to go. We could probably invest in 3 or 4 now that we could put in front of people and probably get some traction on. We won't do that because we're going to need to sort of rank stack that somehow. We don't know exactly how at this point in time. We have next investment committee meetings Tuesday and Wednesday next week, I want to say. So we'll have it worked out by then, hopefully. But no, we're keen to invest. We think so the current portfolio, yes. I mean, we don't automatically support companies we've invested in before. We obviously want to see where they're at, what the traction is, what they've discovered about the market. So, for as much as that sounds cruel, we won't always support what we've invested in. There's quite a few coming through looking for dollars that we'd have no problem supporting again. And we're keen to see what's going to happen there. And there's some fresh ones out there that we've got some opportunity for. This is an opportunity.
It's that the perfect balance of the crisis is problem and opportunity. Like you've obviously got you're saying you got a healthy pipeline now. In 2 months' time, it's going to be 3 times as healthy.
Yeah, but at the same time, these companies need money now too, right? So you just can't sort of, they are on some time. They've got some ticking clocks. I've got a good team there. We're going to rank stack it. We probably can't make a really bad decision. We just want to make the best one.
Yeah. Understand.
So no, we're looking forward to see how that all pans out. And there's some real crazy ones there as well that I'd love to back. They're either mad or genius. I'm not too sure. Probably a bit of both. Yeah, lots of really good decisions ahead. But no, we at least from the Baxter family perspective, and from what we surveyed on our syndicate, because it's we typically when we invest with 10-13, it's my family's check's always the largest in the syndicate round, and we're typically close to the majority. It just comes down to the dynamics of the deal. If there's only $300,000 available, there's no point in us taking 150 and leaving another 150 for the 60 others. That's just ridiculous. Yeah. So we always plan to be that largest check in the deal. So we have a fully aligned, so people who invest alongside us know that, okay, we get the most hurt money in this baby. We're going to care about this, and which is true. What we invest in, we want to care about. We're not spray and pray by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, understand. And I suppose this final 2 questions is: what advice would you have for investors, both on looking at new opportunities and also supporting their existing companies?
I think. There's so much information coming out at the moment. I've had some rants on social media at the moment because I don't think the media is actually doing the Australian public any service with their near hysteria. To be quite honest, they Very are fair. Just. I saw an interview I've seen 2 interviews now on Sky News where actually the journalist had near panic in her voice on the weekend. Sherry Marks, and it was just disgraceful. Another one this morning with some supposed health consultant professional from University of New South Wales who just shouted at the reporter and basically called Scott Morrison hopeless for daring to listen to the chief medical officer's advice, for Christ's sakes. So because he's got a medical background, and I'm like, it's just, if anything in Australia, we've got to get on a unity ticket here. We've got to, okay, there's some smart people there. Are the decisions perfect? No, but they're the best they can make with the information they got at the time. Give them a break. Just get behind them and don't put a confusing message out. So that's my PSA for this call. I think we've just got to sort of get a stiff upper lip, just power through it, and do the best we can. Let's not panic. I actually forgot your. I forgot your actual question.
Advice for investors as far as supporting existing investee companies and also looking at new deals.
Also, don't stop looking. The deals will be out there. I mean, there is an element of the pricing and the monetary terms of deals changing. I'm against being too predatory, and I think that at the end of the day, for these companies that work, the people that actually found them and run them will take them right through to the end. Have to have a good chunk of change left on the table for them. That's how we always price our deals. If we think that there's an imbalance either way in that equation, there's going to be trouble down the track. So the deals will be out there. There will be some resetting of monetary terms, which will be very interesting. So that probably is the advice both ways. It's that, hey, right now for potential, for founders, there's money out there, but you've got to understand that the dynamic has now changed. You probably won't see valuations going up. You'll see them going the other way. So be prepared for that. Understand your value, but also understand that at the end of the day, you have to survive. Probably for founders, the easiest capital you will find is from customers. Get it there and sell, for God's sakes. If you're selling stuff, you don't need as much investment, if any at all. And for investors, as always, this is a long, hard road. I mean, I can't see us being out this calendar year.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not going to dare to give other people. There's a lot smarter investors than me out there. I'm not going to dare give them advice. That's why I employ other people. So, just hunker down. It's a marathon, not a sprint, and we'll get through it.
So some of the stuff we've sort of communicated to founders is firstly they're going to have to work a lot harder than what they expected to raise money. Even though there is money out there, there's going to be a lot more competition for it. They'll probably have to speak to anywhere up to 3 times the amount. It will take longer than what they initially expected. I remember from the GFC, because I said that was our launching time, is that at that time, from 2008 to about 2012, a lot of the money we saw was actually all aligned with the companies in the sense that it was either a strategic investment or the investment was an area that the investor could add value in some way, whether it be capital, networks, or IP, or however it was. And then the other one is just be incredibly visible and expect to negotiate.
Yes, but they've also been tempered that with how do you do that in a world that can't travel?
Yeah.
How do you do that in a world that can't? The conferences, the places you find these networks and these investors are changing. Conferences are probably gone for the rest of the calendar year, if not longer.
Agreed.
Travel's going to be tough. We're all probably going to travel less after this as well. So maybe the tools will be different at the same time. How do you communicate? For example, how do you communicate? Let's say you have a business and you need some more working capital, and you had a certain certain CAC and LTV, whatever it might be, all your economics. All of a sudden now, because your reps can't visit people face to face and all the rest of it, all your unit economics are now basically worthless in this new world until you probably get a quarter or so of data to sort of say, well, this is what it now means. So I agree with you. I'm probably just adding some colour, and I agree with the fact that it's going to take longer. And there's going to be more money out there. It's just going to change the dynamics of the market. So that's going to put pressure on the price in a negative direction for the founders, right?
Yeah. Which goes back to, obviously, I just can't see any other way for founders than literally just doubling down on themselves as far as absolutely backing themselves and going all in on what they're doing.
Google started just before .com1 and powered through that. There's been amazing companies.
I actually want to do an article on this. All the companies that are founded in booms, all the companies that are founded in busts. I think it's a great article.
They come out scrappy. They know there's no easy money. They know there's no easy customer. Mind you, this one is different though. Like I was in Silicon Valley for the GFC, and I've been there lots before. And you go, I've probably been to Silicon Valley every year since 1996, right? And the restaurants were always 95% full. During the GFC, they're only 85% full. But everyone was leaving less tips. It's a different dynamic, right? So it was bad for people. But no one can get out and spend. this is you know, there's a lot of really interesting stuff that's going to happen. I just had a lunch with my young nephews, had his first day at university, then it was the second day was called off for the rest of the year, the poor bugger. So, and we were just chatting about it. And he works stacking shelves and doing sort of assistant management duties at Coles. So he's got work for the rest of the year. He's got no problem there because he works in a supermarket, right? But it's just no one knows. It's, you know, what advice can you give? Well, mate, just hunker down. You get a job, have a smile on your face. People always like a happy individual.
I think that's the part that the biggest fear I have is I don't think people realise, you know, so we both can't really forecast this, but the likelihood of how many jobs are going to be lost in this process.
It'll be devastating. It will be. I've spoken at lots of events and stuff and talking about millennial workforce, and I often say that, you know, that the reason that we've got, you know, some challenging HR conditions with younger workers was because they've never been through a recession. I always temper that by saying, but I don't want it to happen because there's nothing worse. The value destruction, the family destruction, the wealth destruction that occurs is just horrible. However, you know, we may see it, so we'll be different at the end of it.
That's for sure. Business models will be different. Like depending on, you know, as far as you mentioned about the work from home scenario, you know, there'll be a percentage of companies that experience working from home for 3 months and go, wow, that was incredible. And then the next thing you know, how's that impact the commercial property market?
The commercial property market's buggered, I think, personally, for a while, because we're going to realize, probably blokes like me will go, we can actually do this, you know. We don't need to be paying all this hundreds of dollars per square metre per year. Isn't that interesting? You know, I think I saw a press conference over the weekend, I can't remember, with Donald Trump, and he was being questioned after a press conference, I should say. And the reporter said to him, I saw you shaking that person's hand. He goes, yeah, I know, I did it. It was me, but it was instinct. Yeah. And I'm sorry. You know, he was quite apologetic, and he's quite chatty, as Donald Trump is. And I thought to myself, that's right. And he said, you know, well, out of this, one thing that may change is the fact we no longer shake hands.
Yeah.
And I thought that's a small thing, and it's a non-consequential thing when it comes to business, but that's at the root of it, right? Out of this, we're going to say, well, okay, there's things we can't do. I'm hoping, for example, that you know, telemedicine gets up, because, you know, the one thing stopping telemedicine in this country has been that bloody doctors' union, the AMA. So, you know, if the government can sort of say, well, okay, let's actually do something and let's get a Medicare rebate for an e-consult over Skype or WhatsApp or Facebook or FaceTime, whatever, then you're not actually, you know, visiting the place where all the germs live, being the medical center, to sit there for ages on end and, you know, have this really inefficient transaction. You can do it from home. The doctor can say, oh no, you should come in, or oh no, you don't need to come in. You know, I'll email you a prescription. Yeah. Or I email the chemist the prescription. He can home deliver it to you. I mean, you want to talk about that's the efficiency that we didn't follow up on. So you had the Hawke Keating era efficiencies where we straightened out most of the old horrible monopolies. And we didn't sort of follow through with the last of those. And, you know, health is exceptionally inefficient. Healthcare, medical is exceptionally inefficient. And so if this can be a catalyst for that'll be very interesting. So
I have to tell you, one of the nice things about my position is, you know, I feel like I can add value in some way, right? Like I've got clients that are raising money for telehealth solutions. And then also I've got another client who is actually, I believe they're in testing at the moment to see if I don't know how to describe it that well, but effectively they've got it's a chemical, but they've got a gel that basically breaks down bacteria, and they're actually testing it right now to see if it can actually, like the government's actually testing it right now to see if it can actually have an impact on the virus. And it's like, I wonder how many clients I've had over the years that are actually in that area that got some sort of role to play in this. And it's like, that's what I want to sort of give as much voice to as possible.
Nice, yeah. The one of my first or second ones, maybe the second one after we exited Pipe Networks, is a company. It's considering, it's got a prospectus out for listing at the moment. Maybe you actually don't work with them too. Atomo Diagnostics.
Yeah. I'll never forget that.
They put out a supplemental yesterday, or just recently anyway. I got it yesterday. Supplemental prospectus, basically saying that their rapid care test device has been ordered by people who actually have a blood test for COVID-19. And they've had to ship 2,000 urgent units to these testing labs because they could actually do an in-field blood test.
Wow.
So, you know, talk about companies doing good at it, but if they're part of the testing kit for COVID-19 that works, then, you know, there's occasional good out of bad as well, right? And
absolutely.
so maybe Atomo is going to get some goodness out of that.
That's brilliant. Well, mate, really, really appreciate your time. I said, I imagine you've got lots of different stuff coming in different directions, so to take sort of half an hour out to have a chat, really appreciate it. And look, I hope people that will listen to this get some sort of value and some sort of sanity out of it, rather than just as you said, the hysteria that you're basically being fed most days, in realizing that there actually is opportunities for businesses going forward, and investors are actually still proactively looking at deals. It's just that the terms are different to what it was 2 to 3 weeks ago, and it's just being reasonable with that. But I said all crises have an element of opportunity to it.
My word. And there's just know that you're not if your business is in trouble at the moment, crisis at the moment, you're not the only one.
Yes.
You're not alone. I've been there where the walls are closing in on you. My message to founders and to people trying to raise money and keep their business alive is that you are not the only one. Now that doesn't mean that you can slack off. But in all honesty, just rest assured the fact that everyone out there, like, you are not Robinson Crusoe. This is all good. You can reach out for help. Everyone's going through something similar, and you're not the exact thing you're going through. It's never the case, but you're not alone. It's in some respects, it's not your fault. And once again, that's not an excuse either. But just, you've now got to pull on your big boy pants, get it all done. But you're not alone. There's lots of people out there who are going through the same thing. So, good luck. I wish everyone who has the gumption to succeed to succeed. So don't get me wrong there.
Brilliant message. Thanks again, Steve. Really appreciate it.
No worries, Steve.
Source the latest deals, engage with new investors, and close your deals sooner with CRIISP at CRIISP.io.